Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I just want to go home.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Falling Down, which came out in 1993 from director Joel Schumacher. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Will Foster, played by Michael Douglas. Will's going through a bit of a bad patch in his life at the moment. He's just been made redundant, has been divorced by his wife, and he's not allowed to see his daughter. He decides one day to, fuck it, walk home and see his daughter on her birthday. And on his journey, he interacts with a bunch of colourful characters and gets into a bunch of situations that lead to a point of no return for him.
I'm going home! Clear a path, you motherfucker! Clear a path! I'm going home!
This is another film which is surprising that it ever actually saw the light of day. The script for the film bounced around every single Hollywood studio and they all just said no. The material in the script is not filmable, it's not politically correct, and it's just something that we don't want to be associated with. And Michael Douglas came across the script and just was blown away by the depth of the characters and the struggle of the everyday man reaching breaking point, and straight away was fired up about it and got hold of a studio and said, we need to make this film, take a chance. And what we're left with is this almost forgotten masterpiece of Falling Down, which pretty much is an odyssey of one man making his way across LA to get back to his family, or his estranged family, as it would soon play out, as the darker sides of this film would start to come to the surface. It's interesting that I forgot that this is a Joel Schumacher film.
Yeah.
Especially when everyone remembers him for Batman and Robin. And it's an interesting film in its own right, and it has a lot of people have had a lot of interesting things to say about that Batman film. But Joel Schumacher had also made films like Flatliners, The Lost Boys, Phone Booth. Yeah. And so he's really proven himself in a couple of different genres and really been able to handle these thrillers.
So yeah, when I was younger, I saw the poster for Falling Down, and you just got Michael Douglas stood there in a certain shirt and tie, holding his briefcase and a shotgun in his hand. You're like, what the fuck? But from the opening sequence of this movie all the way to the end, it gets me every time. I love the style that it's filmed in. I love the acting from everybody in the movie. I love the setting that it's in. There's not really a lot that I do actually point at and go, oh, I won't watch it because of that. I mean, like I said, that opening sequence with Michael Douglas just sat in the car, caught up in traffic. I've never been to LA, but I've seen quite a lot of stuff in LA, and it's always the freeway. There's always a lot of traffic. There's a lot of traffic jams going on.
But that's the thing. Almost everybody can relate to being stuck in traffic or in a queue, whether it's in a car or whether it's a theme park attraction and you're waiting 4 hours for a 3-minute ride,
Yeah.
We can all relate to that.
The way it's edited, though, the Will's look around the world. You've got people yelling, you've got babies screaming, you've got kids messing around.
That fly that just won't leave him alone.
Yeah, the fly that won't leave him alone. The quick glimpses of license plates about Jesus and, telling people to go
Garfield smiling at him.
Yeah, and there is tension in the scenes boiling up, but I don't know if it's through Schumacher's camera work or if it's through Douglas's acting, that nothing's going on in the scene, but you can just see it on Douglas's face. Even though he's not emoting it or anything, his eyes are telling you, I'm going to fucking flip in a minute.
He has a mini flip as he tries to chase the fly around his car.
Yeah.
And you get like the audience almost watching him through the eyes of that little girl who's just like, you're strange.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he gets out of the car. He's just like, fuck it, I'm going home.
That's it. That's my attitude as well. As soon as he gets out, slams that door, it's like he just screams, fuck it. But he doesn't actually say that. And he gets out of the car and the guy's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going home. And you're like, okay. Now, Is Will Foster the bad guy?
Well, at this point, no. He's just inconveniencing everyone that's queued up behind him. That's about it.
See, but that's the thing. You know, going through this film, like I said, he gets into a lot of situations. The first situation he gets into is the Korean shopkeeper.
Yeah.
You know, he walks in there, he tries to buy a Coke. It's overpriced in his mind.
85 cents. This is one of my favourite scenes in the film because you all know, when you're on the road and you have to go to a stop and everything is almost double in price and you're just like, why? Is it because it's the convenience of having it here instead of having to go 50 miles down the road for it?
But then on the other hand, it also could be the fact that, you know, the neighbourhood that the Korean shopkeeper has, you know, he's able to exploit the people. And this brings me again to my point of, is he the bad guy? Because William loses it in the store, you know, over the Coke. And so the shopkeeper tries to force him out by grabbing a baseball bat. He takes the baseball bat off him and William starts smashing up the store. So immediately he's the bad guy. But I'm like, actually, no, because he's been pushed to that point, or he's being pushed to that point, because in his mind, hold on a minute, this Coke is well overpriced. Why are you costing? You know, and there's that whole conversation about, you know, you don't understand about how much money my country is giving your country, and you're like, is he being racist? No, because governmental aid and stuff like that. Is the Korean guy being prejudiced against white people because, you know, he knows that he can exploit them? Who is the bad guy at this point? But at the same time, such an amazing scene with him just smashing everything up.
How much are these donuts? Too much.
Donuts. Package of 6, how much? $1.12. Oh! Too much.
It's a great sequence, and it's something that, again, we can all relate to. We've all been ripped off in shops.
Yes.
And we've all felt like we're paying too much for something, or we're not even aware sometimes that we're paying too much for something. So when he unleashes and destroys this store, you do cheer for him because a part of you feels that way too.
Yes.
That starts to make you question whether you can really relate to this character or not. Because then we cut to Robert Duvall, who is a phenomenally good actor. And he was conveniently also in the same traffic jam, and he ends up pushing the car off to the side, and he has a confrontation with another. He's a bit of a douchebag police officer, really. He's more interested in his own motorcycle than actually moving the traffic along. But we get to see that Robert Duvall is also this aged cop who is, get the trope, on his last day of the job. He kind of gets pushed around by everybody in the force, and nobody takes him seriously. And so, in some regards, he is also undergoing another sort of mental breakdown, similar to Bill Foster's character.
Well, what I thought was really funny, I've only noticed it this time before the review, is Pendergast is the opposite to Foster's character. Foster has a negative outlook on life. He's been forced out of his job. He's been forced out of his marriage and divorced, and he cannot see his daughter because he's not allowed. Pendergast has a very positive outlook on life. He's having to leave his job because he loves his wife. She really, really wants him to come home, but he's obviously caught up at work.
But she doesn't just really want him to come home. She wants him to come home to the point of
controlling him. She controls him, where Foster tried to control his wife. You know, and Pendergast cannot see his daughter because his daughter was a victim of cot death. And so I'm sat there and I'm like, wow, we have the detective and we have the anti-hero vigilante, who are complete opposites of the Magnet, negative and positive, and it's just literally going to build up to a point where they clash. Like you said with the police station, you know, they're picking on Pendergast, and he just kind of laughs it off. If that was Foster, he'd have probably shot the place up.
It's quite likely. But yeah, because then after he's wrecked the store and he takes the baseball bat, he wanders off onto a small hill, and he's there and he's trying to repair a hole in his shoes with a newspaper.
Yeah, I love that hole.
And two gangland members approach him.
Yeah.
And it's a great conversation because you're not really worried for Foster's character at this point. You kind of know that he can handle himself. But it's the way he doesn't just resort to violence. He literally tries to rationale with them.
Yes.
He tries to logically approach this situation. Look, I'm just a normal guy. I'm just passing through. I'm not going to piss on your turf. And they want his briefcase, which he's been protectively carrying around this entire time. But they push him until he's like, okay, I'll give you the briefcase. And he unleashes the baseball bat on him. As an audience, you're just like, yes, get him. Especially after the whole graffiti art conversation.
That line.
No fucking trespassing. This means fucking you.
Says all that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he wrote it in fucking English. I could fucking understand it.
I mean, that builds up to obviously the gang members going off, getting a bunch of guns and coming back and trying to kill Foster. And this is like the first time you'll notice there's a darkness in Foster that you never realized before, where he's on the phone to his wife and she's like, you can't come here. He's like, I'm coming home. And she's like, no, you're not allowed. And you can tell, like I said, there's this controlling aspect about him. You know, he's telling his wife, I'm coming home and seeing my daughter, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it.
And just an instant later, it's when Pendergast is on the phone to his wife, yelling at him to come home.
Yeah.
And so, that's when you really see the parallel.
Yeah, and the gang members see William at the phone booth, and so they pull out a bunch of guns. They tell their girlfriend to get out of the car, and they drive up. But it's weird because it's like an act of God. Will stands there so calmly as everybody else is getting shot to pieces around him, and then the gang members try to drive away and crash, and he just kind of walks like nothing's happened. You know, I loved as well, first time noticing it, that he upgrades.
Oh yeah.
Will Foster upgrades his arsenal as he goes along. He starts off with nothing, then he gets a baseball bat, then he gets a knife from the gang members, then he gets a bag of guns from them, and then later on he'll end up with a bag of guns and a rocket launcher, and you're like, fuck, this is like Grand Theft Auto.
No, don't fucking do it, man. Oh, man. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Take some shooting lessons, asshole.
Barbara Hershey plays Bill Foster's wife in the film, and she is a fantastic actress in her own right. And I think she really sells the fear and the panic that is the situation that she's in, which she cannot quite describe to the police officers that have turned up at her house. And it's the whole conversation about domestic abuse that hasn't happened yet, which is still a bone of contention in today's society when, you're afraid that somebody is going to do you bodily harm, and the police turn up and go, well, we can't do anything about it until he's done it.
Yeah, well, nowadays we're a lot more advanced with that. It's not just physical, it's mental, isn't it? Mental trauma now. Yeah. Back in 1993, people were like, like you said, oh, well, we can't do anything until he's done
until
anything.
He's killed you, or worse.
Yeah, or worse. But when you're watching the home videos later on, you can see, not just the home videos, but the way Foster speaks to people when it's crossed the line, he can get really abusive and really controlling. There's that sequence as well with his mother, and his mother says, when he just eats his dinner, he doesn't say a word to me, but he's got this look in his eyes like he wants to kill me. And you're like, ooh, hold on a minute. I was cheering him 2 minutes ago.
Well, I can understand that he's rejecting the fact that he's moved back in with his mother after being rejected by his family. So I guess he's throwing all of that hate that he's feeling straight to his mother, and it's very uncomfortable. The more you find out about Bill Foster, the scarier he becomes, and the less of the hero character that you saw him to begin with being.
But at the same time, I try to not hate him too much, because Michael Douglas just his advancement through the film. You know, I've always been a big fan of Michael Douglas. You know, recently with Ant-Man, going all the way back to Coma by Michael Crichton.
Wall Street, even.
Wall Street,
Jewel of the
Romancing the
Nile.
Stone, Jewel of the Nile.
See,
Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct. The list goes on. And I think it's actually noted that when he takes a character, he becomes that character, and that character becomes him.
He did say in an interview that Bill Foster is the favourite role he had since his character in Wall Street.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that the character resonated with him, as he saw it as a reflection of society as well, and just there was, you know, a spat of gun shootings at fast food chains in America around this time as well.
Yeah.
And so some people would consider the Whammy burger scene to be in pretty poor taste. But this kind of thing happens, and you always watch the news and go, wow, that's really horrible. I wonder what caused this person to go that way.
Yes.
And there's a scene earlier in the film when he's walking past a bank, and there's a black guy holding up a sign saying not economically viable.
Yes.
And and I don't know if you've noticed, but that guy is wearing the exact same clothing as Bill Foster, down to the same coloured striped tie. And so they're almost two characters undergoing the same sort of
life experience
at the same time. And so he does say, when he drives past, remember me.
Yeah. It's like that, like you said, that Whammy burger scene. Some people might consider it very, very poor taste with like you said, the spate of shootings that are going on. But Michael Douglas comes across so innocently at certain points. Like when he fires the gun into the scene and he's like, I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that. And you're like, well, but you took the gun out. You know, you were making a statement about the gun. And it's kind of like he'll say to you, like, yeah, but I just wanted breakfast.
Eat your lunch. You all need your vitamins A's and B's and... It's an accident. It was an accident. The trigger, it's sensitive.
And they stopped serving it like 3 minutes ago because they're awkward. Okay, now I'll have lunch. And now I get this burger. And I've been there, like you said.
We've all been there.
You look at this burger and you're like, what the fuck is that?
We're looking at you, McDonald's. We're looking at you, Burger King.
Yeah, KFC. You look at all those fucking... Your pictures do not sell your burgers justice. But then you look at the people behind the counter and they're just like, oh, I'm working like a fucking 12-hour shift, 7 days, you know.
I'm making 100 burgers an hour.
Yeah, the burgers just become a while, you know. I feel like getting a gun out and just fucking blowing up the place.
Now, look at this sorry, miserable, squashed thing. Can anybody tell me what's wrong with this picture?
Couple of extra characters I wanted to speak about, actually. Rachel Ticotin, I think her name is, who plays Detective Torres, Pendergast's partner.
I remember her from Total Recall.
Yes.
As the
partner to Schwarzenegger.
Yes, yeah.
See, and that was it. I'd not recognised her before this, but while I was sat there watching this for the review, I was like, I know your face. I know your voice. Where have I seen you? And I realised it was her from Total Recall. And I like her partner to Pendergast. You know, she seems to be the only positive person in the station who really enjoys all the experiences that she has with him, takes in all the lessons that he tries to teach him.
He's like a surrogate dad to her.
Yeah.
Because she's the daughter he never had. And so it's a beautiful relationship, yeah.
The first time I watched this, I thought that there may have been some kind of sexual tension going along. But as I watch it more and more, like you said, it's a father figure. He literally says to her at one point when she's bad-mouthing his wife, he's like, the reason why I'm going is because I love her. You know, and it's like, he'll do anything to keep people happy, especially his wife. The other character I bring up is Ray J. Barry, who played the captain. Same thing again, when he was belittling Pendergast, I'm like, I know your face, I know your name. He was the captain, yeah, the ref. And all I could remember, all I could hear in my head while I was watching him was him like, I fucked your wife, Bob. I fucked your wife. And I'm like, yeah, no, I've heard you about that.
There's not a fuck or a shit in all these years. Real men curse, Pendergast. And I especially don't like a man in my command who's afraid to hit the street. It's bad for morale.
I'm not afraid to hit anything, okay?
As the film progresses, you know, we just follow William on his travels with Pendergast constantly coming across clues about this man in a shirt and tie, you know, destroying a store or attacking gang members or shooting up a Whammy burger. And it comes to that scene with the army surplus store, you know, and the owner of the army surplus store is a racist fucking Nazi, and yet he feels a connection to Foster because, you know, he's been listening to the police scanner and thinks, oh yeah, that's him, and he must be a white supremacist like me. And it leads to a brilliant scene where Foster and the owner are in the back of the shop. And Foster's looking around at all the Nazi memorabilia and he's like, we are not the same. No. We are far, far from being the same type of people. You fucking hate just for the sake of hating. I hate because I've been pushed to the fucking point and I've got really no other choice. And he ends up killing the owner of the store. And like I said, it brings me back to my original question. Is he the bad guy? Because Foster hadn't killed anybody intentionally up to this point.
No, that's right.
You know, all the people that he had fought up to this point had attacked him first. And so in a way, he was just defending himself. And he defends himself against this fucking Nazi. I'm just going to call him a fucking Nazi. He defends himself against this Nazi and shoots him dead. And you're like, well, yeah, okay, it was murder. But he was defending himself. But then again, that the owner of the store was kind of doing his civil duty by trying to bring to justice a man who was shooting up. And all these lines start flipping through each other. There's scenes later on where he gets into the golf course and the golfer gives him such fucking shit, tries to knock him out with a golf ball. Foster doesn't hurt him. He shoots a car, but the shock causes the golfer to have a heart attack. And the pills are in the cart, which is now driving into the water. And you're like, okay, Foster's not helping him. Is that murder still?
Well, it's the fact that he jokes about it. Yeah. He's like, you're going to die wearing that silly little hat. It's like...
Now, aren't you sorry you didn't let me pass through your golf course?
Hey, golf course?
Yeah. And now you're going to die wearing that stupid little hat. How does it feel?
There are some great comedy moments.
That's the thing. There are some real dark gems of moments in the film. There's one sequence that I like, that he goes to this construction area.
Yes.
And the guy's just like, you can't walk through here, we're doing roadworks. And Christ, I mean, wherever you live, you've seen the roadworks everywhere, and you always go, why? Like, I used that road yesterday, it was fine. What are you doing? And as it turns out, they're just doing it just to make themselves look busy, to keep the paychecks coming in from the council, the government, or wherever it's coming from. Yeah. And that scene is just great because he gets the truth out of him, whether it's the real truth or not. And it's the fact that he happens to have this rocket launcher, which he can use to enact, I don't know, social justice.
I love the fact as well, there's that point with the little boy. The little boy is telling him how to use this rocket launcher.
Yeah, I saw how to do this on TV.
I saw this on TV. And it's when the rocket fires and goes off and makes the big explosion and the kid says, oh, that's cool. You see this look in Foster's face. But it's the comparison. You know, you thought he was the bad guy. He is the bad guy. He's not the bad guy. You thought he was a racist, but he's not a racist because he's actually just stood there next to this black kid and he's just like, hey, you thought that was cool? You know, I wish I had a son like you. I wish my daughter looked up to me like that, you know.
That one right there. But aim first, man.
Okay.
Look out!
And he does eventually get home, and it's... If you were still questioning really whether he was the hero of the film, when you watch that videotape of his daughter's birthday, where he's forcing his crying child to get on the horse, and the wife is just like, no, you see the look in her eye, you know, the fear that she has of him as he's just yelling to get her on the horse whether she likes it or not. that should be enough to tell you that this guy has some very serious mental health issues.
Yes, as a parent, as a father, if you know, as the stronger kind of member of the family, you only have a couple, maybe 3 or 4 moments in your child's life where you can tell them aggressively that they have to do something. Yeah, I think I've used up 2, so I'm saving the other 2 for when my son is like 20, moving out. But for Foster, you get this real big sense that he has done this a lot more than those times. You know, he has forced his wife into situations, and has forced his child into situations where it's now just gone to a point where she's just like, I'm divorcing you.
Yeah,
I built up the courage now. Just I don't need you anymore.
it is also, you do also see the other side though when you see the happy times of the family, like when they're
Yes.
buying the puppy.
Yes.
Which they still have the pet dog, and so you do see that there were some warm moments there originally.
Yes.
And you do also realize, so you're trying to figure out when was the breaking point for this character. Really, was it the moment he was on the freeway? Well, no, obviously he had already had a mental break way before then.
Yeah.
And that realization also appears when you realize that his briefcase was empty and it contained literally just a sandwich, his
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder how many other guys or people are out there looking for work and they have briefcases and they look smart when really the briefcase is empty
And
and
they're
they
just-
don't have a job because
Yeah.
we find out that he was let go sometime before from his job. And so we're guessing that he also says many times that he worked for America. He was part of the national defense. He built missiles
Yeah.
for them. And then obviously he was fired and then rejected from his family.
All the money goes to plastic surgeons.
Exactly. So it's a very well balanced film with lots of different facets to it that really does get into, well, it doesn't really get into the psychology, but it very much illustrates it for you.
It's like I said, I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen it, you know, go and watch it now. But that ending on the pier where it's him, his wife, his daughter, and Pendergast.
And it's also the first time all these actors have been together on the same scene.
Yeah, Pendergast, Robert Duvall's just conversation as he's walking around so calmly, controlling the situation, making sure the wife knows what he's doing, you know, making sure he's keeping an eye on Foster, making sure the daughter's sorted. Once they're out the situation, he's trying to talk Foster down, and Foster's just like, no, I can't. I've gone too far. He'd already said it in the movie. I've gone past the point of no return. You know, he says, you know, I've got another gun. We're gonna have a shootout here. You're the sheriff. I'm the bad guy. And there's a part of you that doesn't want Foster to die, but then there's a part of me that even says, look, there's no other choice. You know, he's caused criminal damage. He's killed a couple of people. And he even says himself, I'm not going to watch my daughter grow up behind bars. I'd rather die and let her have the insurance. And bang, that's it. You know, he pulls out a gun, water pistol. Pendergast shoots him and he goes over the pier. And you're like, whoa, is that it? You know, I still, at the end of it, still don't know if he was the good guy or not. You know, I know for a fact Pendergast was the good guy all the way through, but was Foster really the bad guy compared to all the other elements that he's seen
I would
throughout
say
the day?
he is the bad guy because he was the bad guy before the film even began. And I wouldn't say he is the bad guy. I would say that he had a mental health disorder.
Yeah.
He needed help and it wasn't there for him. That's the bad.
It wasn't there for him, and he was unwilling to accept it.
Yes, as well. I mean, the longer he went without getting help, the more pathological he became in this psychotic break almost, which is very controlled as well, which is what also makes him very scary.
I'm the bad guy?
Yeah.
How'd that happen? I did everything they told me to.
I have quite a few favourite scenes in the film. I really, really like the moment when Pendergast has been pushed around so much, yet his sort of falling down moment occurs when his wife rings him and it's just like, you need to come home now.
Yeah.
And he just tells her to shut up.
Yeah. Leave the skin on the chicken.
And he tells her exactly what he's probably wanted to say for nearly 20 years. And his entire aura just changes.
Yes.
He just feels confident again. He feels like a police officer again. He's kind of reclaimed some of his manhood, but without completely destroying his wife in the process. And I really, really like that moment. Of course, Michael Douglas, in every situation he's in, from the Whammy burger scene to the construction site to the traffic jam to the Korean store, every moment that he's in, you're behind him 100% in those moments.
Yeah.
The moments when he's on the phone to his wife is when you really go, oh God, this is a monster that I'm following.
Yeah.
And he does it fantastically well. I did kind of think it was interesting that the London Bridge is falling down theme kept reoccurring throughout the film, either through the musical Snow Globe, the fact that Pendergast sings it at one point, the fact that where they're moving to has the London Bridge, and it's and of course falling down is in the title. So I just thought it was nice that they kept putting that in there. It was subtly enough.
I love all the scenes with Michael Douglas in, even to a point the dark scenes he has with his family, mainly because it just shows off Michael Douglas's amazing acting ability from going from, this push to the edge guy to a guy who is already on the edge and possibly beyond. Every scene he gets into, the gang members, the Korean store, like I said, the Whammy burger. One of the scenes that really gets me as well is when he climbs into the pool yard and he comes across the family and he tries to accost them first, but then they just tell him that they're just gardeners, and he starts to calm down, but then he gets all worried with the little girl, because he's cut his hand and he thinks he's bleeding there, but it keeps flipping. One moment he's really innocent and trying to just talk with them, the next minute they think he's trying to attack them and he tells them off, and it just keeps flipping back and forth. And like you said, you sit there going, is he a monster? Is he like me? Am I supposed to relate to him? Am I supposed to keep him at bay? I don't know, but that's what is just so amazing. The same can be said for all of Pendergast's scenes as well. Robert Duvall is just amazing. And all of his scenes, you just want him to fucking tell people to get the fuck out of your face. But when it flips back to Michael Douglas, that's what he's doing. So you're just like, Pendergast, don't. But like that little sequence at the end, the captain had already said to Robert Duvall, I can't trust a man who doesn't swear or curse. There's no fuck you or anything. And then at the end, Pendergast just walks up and goes, fuck you, sir. Fuck you very much.
Pendergast. This is Sergeant Pendergast. Damn fine work, Pendergast.
Fuck you, Captain Yardley. Fuck you very much.
I can't believe it. Did you just say that?
Right on national TV, and you're like,
awesome,
yes, yes. The whole ending as well, is just...
It's built up to it perfectly,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes. There's something in the camera work. There's tension palpable in the camera work. There's just like heat coming off. Maybe it's the orange tinge or the fact that everyone's sweating. I did at one point sit there and think, is there another part of Los Angeles at the moment where Danny Glover is trying to fight the Scorpio and being hunted by predators? Because it just seems that hot, It just seems to combine all together. It just really, really works.
There's something that confused me in the film, and that's... I'm not going to try not to be racist.
Right, okay.
But, when I watched this film, it kind of confused me as to Korean, Japanese, and Chinese people.
Right, yeah.
Because the Korean store owner is played by a Japanese man. And
the Japanese
detective is a Chinese man.
Yeah.
And so and he says, I can't speak his language, and you're just like, so it's so easy to be confused.
Yeah, well, like we said, that's the black dark comedy, isn't it?
It is.
It is. You can't help but laugh because you have to balance it with all the darkness that's coming along with the rest of the film. I do recommend Falling Down, but just be very careful. I mean, we are talking 1993. We're almost talking 20 years that this film has been out for, and it does have that look. It does have a very mid-90s look about it. The saving graces about it are Michael Douglas's acting, Robert Duvall's acting, the acting of all the supporting characters, the set pieces, you know, just the hidden jokes, the social commentary that goes along with it. There is a lot of underlying onion-like layers that you could take apart with this film, but at the same time, you know, you have to be of a certain age to understand it. You have to have a certain bunch of experiences to be able to relate to the situations that they're getting into. You know, if you're 12 and you're watching this review and you're like, hey, I'm going to go watch Falling Down, you may not get it. But if you do watch it later on in your life and you may relate more to Foster.
Absolutely, I can attest to just that. As watching it, you know, in the late teens, and you can laugh at a few moments in the film and go, yeah, I kind of relate to those bits. But yeah, as you mature and you watch the film, it almost becomes a horror movie.
Yeah.
In terms of the fact that you almost want to go postal. you know, but society has kept you in check, and you know, despite all of the grievances that you have, there, you know, you remain under control, and that's why it's a joy almost to watch this character just unleash the shackles and just go to town and do whatever almost he wants to do. Being driven, of course, by this dark seed of returning back to his family, it was almost in his mental break that his family still want him, especially when he finds his wife and he starts kissing her, and it's just like, yeah, it's pure horror.
Yeah.
I absolutely recommend the film. It's a sort of film that you don't just watch once. It's a film that you revisit every so many years, and just to watch this man's odyssey again through LA, just watch the path of destruction that he causes, and it's something it's almost this repressed nature, and it kind of makes me feel, well, it's almost like Fight Club came just a few years after this film.
Yeah.
And that really was another exploration of just the everyday man just rebelling against society and what's expected of people. So yeah, you have to go and check out Falling Down, especially if you've never seen it before.
I would have got you.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Yo, Mr. Yeet!